Alright guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be working on painting the camper. I'm going to be showing this video to you, but technically I've already done that painting job. We were under the gun getting that paint done and getting to a campsite we had already scheduled. So we painted this camper probably just 2 days or so before we left, so it was kind of a rush project. So we're just going to kind of take our time here now and explain the process of what I did. So we had this camper. We're going to paint it in 2 separate colors, and so that was going to take, at least 2 days to do, probably 3. Yeah, I think it was about 2 actually to paint it, because we had to wait for it to dry and tape off the other side. So, but anyway, so we had to start off a lot with a lot of the sanding and prep work, that goes into a paint job. So probably a week before we started painting, I filled in a lot of the holes, had little like pinholes and screw holes and stuff, and I filled those in with Bondo. So we filled those in, and then kind of the day before painting, we did a lot of sanding. So you can see here we had a lot of sanding, a lot of scraping of old silicone, things like that, sanding off a lot of the logo, and that took about a day, maybe not quite a day, to get all that done. It took a lot of time. We had some old paint that the other owner had put on there with like a brush, and it was really rough. So we kind of knocked a lot of those ridges down on that paint job, and got it to a smooth finish, relatively smooth finish. So after that, then we started taping off everything, and the tape job was another, I'd say, afternoon. It took a long time to tape off the trim work. We were not wanting to paint the trim the same color. We wanted to keep that kind of that aluminum look, or that chrome look. It's not really chrome, but that metal look. So we taped that off, taped off the windows, and that took probably an afternoon to do, and got that done. So once all that's done, then it was ready to paint. So we're going to go show you the next step in the paint and what's involved with that. Alright guys, so for the paint job itself, I already have shown you in a previous video kind of the style of paint, but I'm going to show it again here, and what I'm using to spray it with. So we're using this Everlast, I don't know if you can see that here, exterior paint from Lowe's. This is like their high-end house paint, I guess you'd say. It's a exterior semi-gloss. It was one that that kind of was applied well in my test, and we could get the right color that we wanted. So anyway, it's an acrylic enamel. It washes off with soap and water, but it says that it's pretty difficult to wash off with soap and water. So it's not like a typical latex where it comes right off. I ended up using like paint thinner and stuff like that to get it off as well, my hands and stuff. It just doesn't like to stick well, or doesn't like to come off well from your hands. So anyway, so this is a pretty good paint, at least. We've driven it now a couple times, and it hasn't, peeled off or anything like that. But so this was the paint we used. We had a white version of this and a this blue version, and we used 1 gallon for the top and 1 gallon for the bottom. And so it's about I think it's a 16-foot camper. So we kind of split it in half. We have the top half was white and the bottom half was blue. So that gives you an idea of how much paint you use. So the bottom was blue. I think we ended up using actually a little bit more than a gallon for the top. We ended up going back and getting another one of these, actually. So that was the type of paint we used. And then here, I got the case. This is the Wagner 3500 spray, the spray gun for it, and I showed that in a previous video, and that worked pretty well. Ended up a little bit of a learning curve. I'd never used that before, and so when I painted the roof one day, and just poured the paint in there in the cup that comes with it, and it went fine. It's just didn't realize how much this paint goes everywhere, just everywhere. So be sure you have it taped off. Even things like close to the camper, we're getting some spray on them. I mean, so I was spraying the ceiling, if you think of it, or like the roof on top, and then I didn't cover the tongue of the camper, and so that was painted black, and it ended up getting some white flecks in it after the roof was painted, and I didn't even go that direction anyway. So this stuff just goes everywhere, and so we had a pretty I guess minor disaster with that. Painting the top, we painted the roof and the top portion of it with white, and did not thin down the paint or anything. And actually, when I read this paint can after all this, it said it didn't like, it needed an airless spray gun, not the kind, this Wagner kind. Because when I was painting, it felt like it was like throwing like thick chunks of paint, not a nice mist. So, I was getting frustrated with it, of course. And but after it kind of settled down for that day, it thinned out. So when it was on the camper, so it wasn't a big deal. So we ended up being able to spray it with this air spray gun. But the minor disaster, going back to that, is we sprayed it towards the end of the day. It was probably like 7 o'clock at night. Left it out, and then the next day when I went up to check on it, the dew had come down and all the paint was still wet, and it had dripped on the front and the back, just ran down the camper. It's like it got so much dew, almost like it had rained on it right after we sprayed, and that white just had dripped way down, dripped down the sides onto the ground. Luckily, it was that we were parked it in the yard still, and it was just all over the grass. So it was a little mini disaster, and so I ended up having to spray it again the next morning with a lot of frustration. So I got that sprayed, and I think that's why it took a little bit more than that 1 gallon actually for the water for the white portion of it. So anyway, we got that sprayed, and then we got the blue the next day. So the blue was taken with we kind of take all the tape off and the newspaper or whatever, and areas that we wanted blue now. So kind of flipped it over, put it up on the white side, the tape and the newspaper, and painted the bottom blue, and it went pretty well. The blue side, what it ended up doing is just throwing a little bit of water in with the paint can on the sprayer, and that water, I mean, not much at all. I would say just a couple of tablespoons, really, just like a little, maybe less than a quarter of a cup, just a little drop in there, and mixed it up, and it was enough to keep that sprayer with a little bit more of a finer mist, and it really didn't dilute the paint or anything. So we ended up doing just one pass on the blue, and it went on pretty thick. I went kind of slow on the paint, so I think I got a nice thick first coat, but it went pretty well. There's a few touch-ups we need to do with the blue, and things like that. It's just it's not like the perfect paint job, but I think it'll work out. So I'm hoping this video will show you kind of what we did, and hope it helps you in your process. So anyway, appreciate you sticking around for this video, and good luck on your painting for your camper.